think we should make some corned beef today. How do you guys feel about that? I have an awesome recipe and I have an awesome video for you. Stay tuned. Okay, so I use brisket. So I'm gonna clean it up. I'll show you in the video how I clean that up, right? I remove the excess fat, I slice it in half right through the decal, and I just make it look really nice. And then I brine it, and I use plenty of pink salt, right? Sodium nitrate, okay? So that stuff is probably not what you're gonna wanna eat every day, but for a special occasion, totally fine, okay? It's really not that bad for you. Okay, so I use sodium nitrate, I use spices, I use garlic, I use salt, I use some sugar, and I just let it soak in there, in that brine for like 5 days, okay? And a little trick that I like to do is I also like to inject it. Okay, this is optional, but I use an injector that I bought on Amazon. It's super cheap. I can put a link in the description below. And really what that does is make the center really, really pink. Okay, so you don't have just brown in the center. Sometimes that happens. It's not gonna happen when you inject it. So once you brine it for 5 days, take it out of the brine, cook it over low heat, and that's it, you're done. Couldn't be easier. So stop buying corned beef at the store, watch this video, and make your own. What we're using today is a Niman Ranch Prime brisket. Top notch, as good as it gets, delicious. Take it out of the cryovac, dry it off, cut it right in half. Separate the point from the flat. The point is gonna be that fatty, thick piece, and the flat is gonna be, that's the point right there, and the flat is the other piece, it's the thinner piece. Now this piece is very, very marbled, so I'm gonna trim away a lot of the fat. I wanna leave a 1/4 inch of fat on top. I don't want any bald spots. I wanna just trim little by little, nice and smooth, nice and slow, make it really, really nice, but leave a 1/4 inch of fat on top. Now on this piece, there's actually a big vein of fat. You're gonna see it right here. And what I did with that is just trim it completely away. So I sacrificed a little bit of the meat and I just cut right through the fat. I just got rid of it. It's fine, you're gonna lose a little bit of meat, but it's okay. You don't really want that much. It's so rich. I mean, you can't eat that much fat. It is just ridiculous. So just make it nice, trim it away, leave about a 1/4 inch of fat on top, and you're good to go. What's synonymous with corned beef? Pickling spice. There's gonna be a recipe down below in the description. Add your salt to a separate pot, add your pink salt to that. Also add your brown sugar and your honey. Add 2 heads of garlic split in half, and add your toasted pickling spice. Add it all together and add 2 quarts of water. We're making a 1-gallon brine, which is 4 quarts or roughly 4 liters. So we're gonna boil half of that on the stove and the other half is gonna be ice water. So we have 2 quarts of boiling brine and we have 2 quarts of ice water. Dump that boiling brine right on top of the ice. It's gonna cool down and it's gonna be ready to use instantly. That way you don't have to wait for it to cool. It's a little trick, it's awesome. Now what we need to do is inject the corned beef with the brine. So I just bought a little injector on Amazon. It's really cheap and it makes sure that you have that brine all the way through. So just inject it a little bit. It's supposed to be 10% of the weight. I didn't really do it. I just gave it a bunch of injections and then now I'm gonna submerge it in the brine for 5 days. Now after 5 days, it's such a nice feeling. You haven't had to do any work except for that little brine up front and it's just been accumulating all this wonderful flavor. You take it out of the brine and we're gonna give it a really, really nice rinse. That brine is super salty. You wanna rinse it off really well. You can even let it sit overnight after you rinse it. I'm just gonna braise it right away. I add it to a large pot and I cover the corned beef halfway with cold water. I'm gonna add some vegetables. A lot of people eat these vegetables. I sacrifice these vegetables. These vegetables, I'm gonna sacrifice you. Thank you for your flavor. And it is totally worth it. You have onions, cabbage, garlic, carrots, onions. I think I already said onions, but more onions. It is really delicious. Add that to the pot and then sprinkle over some pickling spice just for good measure. You wanna make sure you get that nice spicy flavor. You want some fresh spice. You can toast it. I didn't do it this time. And now we're gonna top it off with water. I always bring my braises to a boil so it cooks much faster. So once you bring it to a boil on the stovetop, put it in the oven, 2.5, 3.5 hours, 325, and it's gonna be really tender. Make sure it's completely fork tender and your fork will just slide in just like that. So let it cool in that liquid for about an hour once it's out of the oven. Take it out of the liquid and let it cool down even further, another 30 minutes or so. It doesn't need to be piping hot. In the meantime, cook some vegetables. I'm cooking some carrots. I'm gonna boil some potatoes. I'm gonna boil some cabbage. I'm gonna make it just colorful and pretty. This is optional. It doesn't really matter if you do this or not. I'm just gonna do this for the decoration. It's the garnish of the plate, but these are real traditional flavors, especially for like St. Patrick's Day, like Irish corned beef. These are the kind of the flavors and vegetables you want. So I just boiled them And now what we're gonna do is slice our corned beef. You're gonna see how beautiful this is. Get rid of the excess fat, don't be shy. It's actually trimmed pretty well, I was surprised. And just use a long knife, as sharp as possible, thin slices. And you can see right there, that's Cat's Deli all day long, right there. Perfectly pink throughout, really well marbled, and it just tears right apart. You don't want it to be chewy, you don't want it to be tough. Make sure that it's super tender, and that's exactly what you want right there. That's money. This is not my favorite way to eat corned beef. I like it smoked like pastrami in a sandwich, but this is a really nice way, and it showcases the flavor and the meat. So I put it on a beautiful plate, and I put some vegetables neatly around it. I'm gonna put some carrots around it. I slide that beautiful piece of bright green cabbage right underneath. I'm gonna place some potatoes around it, and you're gonna see that this is just the perfect St. Patrick's Day plate. Don't buy corned beef. This flavor, it's not as salty as the packaged corned beef. It tastes a million times better. It is so good. So how'd you guys like that corned beef recipe? It turned out so incredibly delicious. And you know what the best part is? I have plenty of leftovers whenever I want to make a Reuben sandwich or a corned beef sandwich, or I want to do like corned beef hash. It's just wonderful. It's really good stuff to have on hand. You can freeze it if you absolutely have to. Not a problem. It freezes just fine. Cryovac it. So I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit that like, that subscribe button, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Have a great, safe St. Patty's Day, you guys. Take care.